pains me to review a game like Homefront: The Revolution. It pains me that a game which has such an intriguing and unique concept of integrating guerrilla warfare in an open world would fail so miserably. I'll be honest, I was looking forward to playing Homefront: The Revolution and was avoiding all the negativity the game was receiving before release. Unfortunately, Dambuster Studios' Homefront fails to ignite any kind of gameplay revolution whatsoever. Let's begin with one of the game's biggest problems, the technical issues. Homefront: The Revolution on the PS4 suffers from a ton of frame rate and performance issues. There were numerous times where I encountered some frame rate drops, and given that far more bigger worlds like the one featured in Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain ran at a silky smooth 60 FPS, it's disappointing to see the game struggle to run at a consistent 30 FPS. Furthermore, the game also has a few glitches in the form of character clipping and AI. The main character's hands will simply just go through the doors, and the NPCs will simply not move out of the way, hindering my progress. Homefront: The Revolution is not a bad-looking game. It's running on CryEngine after all, but the above-mentioned issues really drag down the experience. Unfortunately, the list of issues doesn't end here. Homefront: The Revolution's biggest strength should have been its open-ended level design and shooting. Unfortunately, the game falls short in both of these departments. Philadelphia is basically divided into three zones, namely green, yellow, and red. The red zones are those areas which are under the heavy influence of KPA, and they will basically shoot you at sight. These sections are highly engaging as you will soon find yourself destroying enemy bases, strike points, stronghold, and setting up ambushes. Achieving success here will turn the tide heavily in the Resistance's favor. The yellow zones are areas where the KPA's aggressiveness is much more toned. These are areas where some of the game's side missions will take place. You'll find NPCs being harassed and tortured by the KPA. You will need to convince these NPCs to join your revolution, destroy KPA bases. In short, it's here where you will ignite the revolution to take down your enemy. And finally, we have the green zone, which is like a fortress where you will need to take down high-value targets, but beware these places are armed to the T. All of this sounds like an exciting idea on paper, and there's no doubt that most of this will remind you of the recent Far Cry games. Look, I'm all for taking inspiration from another popular franchise and borrowing gameplay elements and building on them to make them better. This is how most games are developed these days, but the Revolution does it in the worst way possible. It takes the gameplay design from the Far Cry series, and instead of building it, it deteriorates it. Make no mistake, I thoroughly enjoyed these sections initially, but later on they became a chore. You'll be doing the same thing over and over again. Take this enemy out, destroy this base, and retrieve this item. The quests became boring and repetitive too fast, and the underwhelming gunplay doesn't help matters at all. Although Homefront: The Revolution features a rather comprehensive weapon customization, which is one of the only few bright spots of the game, the overall feel of the weapons feels lackluster. They lack the punch that other games have, such as Battlefield and Call of Duty. Furthermore, combat is highly unbalanced, especially in those sequences where you will have to implement a bit of stealth. These sections add a bit of tension and some fun into the bland gameplay, but as soon as you're discovered, you'll have the entire base running and gunning after you. The player basically has no chance to survive this encounter, and you are then back to the game's last checkpoint. Sequences such as these are annoying and frustrating, and they don't help the game become better one bit. Homefront: The Revolution does not come packed in with competitive multiplayer, however it includes a cooperative multiplayer mode, and to be honest, this is where the game's limited fun factor lies. You and your three friends can participate in co-op missions and do the usual things that you will generally do in the main campaign. These missions have their own set of upgrades and progression system, but unfortunately there are only 6 missions available at this point. However, the developers have promised free content due to be released in the next 1 year. One of the highlights of the game is the representation of a fallen America. Burned monuments, wrecked building, and the game's use of guerrilla tactics really make you feel suppressed and helpless at times. Unfortunately, this feeling does not go hand in hand with the poor gameplay mechanics. In the end, Homefront: The Revolution is a classic example of a game that was in development hell, and just when things started to become better for the title, it was pushed out of the door to meet deadlines. Homefront: The Revolution should stay in development for another 6 months, and then it would have been truly remembered. But for now, it seems that not only the Revolution is a failure, but it's extremely unlikely we will ever see a new Homefront game in the future.
And that wraps it up. What are your thoughts about this? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and share it on Twitter and Facebook. And why not consider subscribing? We upload some really cool videos almost every day. Thank you for watching this video, and happy gaming!